This video was brought to you by Brilliant. Today, Libya continues to deal with a devastating flood. Russia's most advanced air defense system is destroyed, Hunter Biden is indicted, and NASA's alien probe is finally published. From TLDR News, this is your daily briefing for the 15th of September, 2023. On Monday, a burst dam in Libya caused one of the most catastrophic floods in recent times. And today, the mayor of one of the most affected cities says that he believes that the death toll could rise to as high as 20,000. And Libyan authorities have additionally noted that another 10,000 people remain missing. As for the city itself, experts believe that part of the reason the flood has been so devastating is down to the fact that a lot of the infrastructure is aging and crumbling. And ultimately, this means that it wasn't able to withstand the force of the flood. It's also worth pointing out that on Monday, when the flood happened, a 7-meter wave swept through the city. So crumbling infrastructure combined with this huge wave is why buildings in the city couldn't withstand the flood, and what caused it to be as devastating as it's been. Well, experts believe that a few factors are to blame. Firstly, Storm Daniel, which caused extreme rainfall to hit the country late on Sunday. And this wasn't just a light downpour either. This rainfall was record-breaking, with Derna seeing more than 414 millimeters of rainfall in just a 24-hour period. Now, it's hard to attribute this specifically to climate change, but academics have already made clear that extreme weather events like this are made more likely and are made more intense because of climate change. Secondly, the 2 dams that protected the city became overwhelmed during this downpour. Now, this is in part due to the sheer volume of water they were trying to hold back, but also because the floodwater had debris caught in it. And this added to the destructive power of the flood itself, allowing it to break these dams and a number of bridges. Thirdly, the head of the World Meteorological Association has pointed out that if there would have been a normally operating meteorological service, they would have been able to issue warnings in advance, and that the emergency management system would have been able to carry out evacuations that would have avoided most of the human casualties. In essence, the political instability of the country made it very difficult for the World Meteorological Association to improve these kinds of systems. Regardless of the reasons though, over the next few days, Libya will keep looking for those who are missing, and they'll continue to assess the damage caused by the flood. Now, there's more on the way, but be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to make the daily briefing part of your daily routine. Or just search for us in your podcast app of choice to listen along. Over the last few weeks, Ukraine has successfully destroyed 2 of Russia's most advanced air defense systems in Crimea, with the second of these attacks occurring in the early hours of Thursday morning, when Ukrainian-made Neptune cruise missiles targeted the S-400 missile system in West Crimea. With this marking the first known usage of these Neptune cruise missiles to attack a target on the ground. These missiles are launched from the ground and have a 200-mile range, and were also used to sink the Moskva, the flagship Russian ship, in April of last year. Regardless, the decision to attack the Russian air defense system appears to be in line with the Ukrainian strategy of using missiles and drones to target military and logistics facilities. And that's because Crimea is a big supply hub for the Russians, and this attack will likely be a major setback for them. For their part, the Russian Ministry of Defense refused to comment on Thursday's attack, instead pointing out that they had destroyed 11 Ukrainian aerial drones. But in further bad news for the Russians, it seems that these kinds of attacks may become more likely in the coming months. That's because last month, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky claimed that he would upgrade Neptune production facilities so that Ukraine could produce a colossal number of them. So it's unlikely this is the last time you'll be hearing about it. Next up, yesterday evening, Hunter Biden, son of Joe Biden, was indicted on 3 federal firearms-related charges. Hunter had been engaged in a conversation with prosecutors to try and find a plea deal, but this ultimately ended up falling through. As such, he becomes the first ever child of a sitting president to be prosecuted. Specifically, Hunter Biden has been charged with 2 counts of lying about his illegal drug use when purchasing a Colt Cobra revolver. And he additionally faces a 3rd count of possession of a firearm by a person who is an unlawful drug user. Now, if convicted, the most serious counts here carry maximum sentences of 10 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. The White House and a representative for Hunter Biden didn't respond to a request for comment. Interestingly though, the trial itself will take place during the 2024 US presidential campaign, right as his father attempts to secure re-election. But given that the likely Republican nominee, former President Donald Trump, actually faces his own legal troubles, means that the campaign next year will take place among all kinds of legal wranglings, with Trump standing for trial in 4 separate cases likely to land in 2024. Now, you might remember that yesterday we brought you some news that Mexico were displaying what some claimed are alien corpses for members of their Congress to view. Well, it seems that this isn't the only alien news from this week, as a huge NASA alien probe was also finally published this week. While many were hoping that this report would contain some kind of conclusive statement about the existence or non-existence of aliens, this didn't quite happen. The report ended up only being about 36 pages long, most of which were explaining scientific and technical observations. Notably though, the report didn't conclude that it was possible to deny that potential unknown alien technology is operating in Earth's atmosphere. According to Nicola Fox, the Associate Administrator of NASA's Science Mission Directive, there ultimately just isn't enough data that can be used to make definitive scientific conclusions about the nature and origin of UAPs. She added that NASA has appointed a new director of UAP who will be tasked with establishing a robust database for the evaluation of future data. Finally today, a new literacy app called Darits has recently been introduced across the Horn of Africa and is right now being used by more than 410,000 people to teach them basic literacy skills and Somali. And this is big news because for a long time Somaliland has struggled with illiteracy and has some of the lowest rates in the world. In their report about the app, the BBC spoke to a cleaner from Somaliland who's been using the app for a couple of months and has now learned to read and comprehend short stories in Somali for the first time, while others are now able to do key things like read customer names on payslips or begin reading books for the first time. Now, you just spent around 8 minutes watching a video to help you learn more about the world around you. And that feels good, right? Well, that's the feeling you get from spending time learning and bettering yourself. And if you want to do this more, then we have good news. Long-term sponsor of the channel, Brilliant, are giving the first 200 people who click our link 20% off their annual premium subscription. Now, Brilliant is an interactive online learning platform which is full of all kinds of courses which can help you improve your career and further your understanding of the world. They have more than 100 courses on everything from predicting with probability to how technology works to the concept of infinity. And these may sound like topics you need to dedicate a lot of your time to, but you really don't. With Brilliant, you can master big concepts in as little as 15 minutes a day, and you can do this anywhere, anytime. You can find our link in the description to get that special offer. And as always, thanks for watching, and thank you to Brilliant for supporting TLDR.